Welcome, Winnie Yip. Thank you so much for joining ELS class. And I'm very happy that we have 61 students who are here with us today, and the number will increase over the period, so just bear with us. And everyone, it is a privilege to have Winnie Yip to be sharing her experiences with regards to studying law, as well as life as a BPTC student. All of you have learned about the pathways to become a barrister. So I'm pretty sure all of you will have a lot of questions with regards to which in to go, which university that you should opt. So it is a good opportunity for you to get to know Winnie, as well as ask all the relevant questions so that you can then curate your pathway upon your graduation. So Winnie currently is doing her college at Dennis, Nick and Wong. She's our Taylor's alumni. She joined Taylor's back in 2015. Am I correct? Yep.
Oh my gosh, this is so old now.
She transferred to University of Leeds and subsequently graduated in 2018. So thereafter, she did her bar course and she did also her LLM, which is great. So I need you to share your experience doing LLM, legal practice barrister's exam. And thereafter, she was called to the Honorable Venus in Temple in 2019. So I'm going to pass this virtual floor to Winnie Yip. So I hope you can share as many experience as possible.
Okay. I did not have any slides to show, so I'm just going to tell you how I feel. I was a bit actually overwhelmed because it's like 60 participants here, because back in my time, Taylor's only have like 20, maximum 30 students in a cohort, because I think the increase is because you can do CLP as up to, back in those days, my time, you can still choose, but you have to wait for the approval back in those days. So I would say that I opt for the bar course is because I feel like 1 year is not enough in the UK. Trust me, you will enjoy so much. The difference between Malaysian system and the UK system is that I feel like Taylor's has been a great place, and the lecturers has been very nice. The difference is that in UK, you are more independent. The lecturer would not give you case lists. There's no such thing. You have to memorize everything. And because the amount of students is a lot, so you can only ask questions after the session is done, or maybe you have to queue up for your turn to actually ask questions after the whole lecture. It's not like in Malaysia, you have one-to-one touch with your lecturer. Sometimes in UK, the lecturer don't even recognize you because there's hundreds of students, especially classes like European Union law, because as you know, it's one of the compulsory laws. So a lot of students right there, and there will not be a chance where you can actually have one-to-one to them unless there is seminar, which is like a tutorial back in Taylor's. So then you will have maybe some chance to actually talk to your lecturers, but it's not going to be your lecturer, it's just a assigned lecturer. What I gather from I don't want to jump back and forth. Let's just start from where I start. I feel like is everyone here all first year?
Yes, correct. First year, first sem.
Okay, that is a new fresh, because when I was in first year, first sem, my English was not the greatest. I'm from a Chinese background, so English is, I read dictionary more than I read law books, which is something that I feel like I should have picked up when I was in high school. I should have put more effort in. So if you feel like that, don't feel overwhelmed, because slowly you will pick it up, because a lot of those legal jargons, I'm pretty sure a lot of those professional in English literature, they wouldn't even know about the legal jargon. So don't worry so much. Try to adapt yourself, adapt yourself into this new field that you're in. Don't feel overwhelmed. If you have any questions, feel free to ask lecturers, because they will be willing to help. Although as I said, even in UK, although they don't have a sense of personal touch, you will be assigned with a mentor. So talk to your mentor. They will be able to help you. If you have any questions, they'll be willing to help you in whether you have private matters or in terms of your academics. So I am actually very fortunate. I was having Miss Putri as my ELS lecturer as well, and Dr. Tamara, she's the best. She has been I think she has been most understanding, because I told her a lot of my personal issues about how I feel very, very stressed about I cannot get this and I don't understand how to write essays. My first year, I got a really bad result. It was only a 2.8, I think, CGPA. And slowly in my second year, I got a hang of it. So where I get like a 3.33 and above. So if you feel the first year and you feel overwhelmed, as I say, don't worry, just do it, practice, because the law won't change. Okay, the basic principle won't change unless there is another case, for example, in federal court case where it overrules what it says. But in basic, the basic principle will not change. It just depends how you see based on how the facts actually change. So yeah, and then from there I chose to take 2+1 instead of 1+2 is because of course financial is one of the problem. One of the things that I feel like, okay, I need to save my mom some money because I'm going to do an extra year over there. So why not save the money and do in Malaysia, especially in tailors. If you were to, there is two things that I need to put it out. Is that the first thing is that depends on whether you really want to practice in Malaysia. If you don't want to practice in Malaysia, it's good that you go on the second year so that you can adopt with the UK culture or the Commonwealth, the common law there. But if you want to practice in Malaysia, the first thing is you make sure that you get your BM. You get a BM right. Okay. And the second thing is that you need to know your Malaysian law. As much as I don't like back in those days about Malaysian law, that you have to memorize long cases names, those are very important. Because even when I'm back in, I learned all the practical law in bar school, but when I come back to Malaysia, everything seems to be a fresh start for me because it's not a lot that relevant. It is relevant to a certain degree, but the basic law, for example, like contract law, although you use the common law, but because we have a Contract Act 1950, so you have to base your argument on that, which is something that I feel whenever you study your Malaysian law, make sure you pay attention. Okay, although it's not as important as you think. Okay, let's just get over with it. Okay, so whatever you take does actually make an impact in your life, especially contract and court. Because in bar school, they're not going to teach you all over again. Like you have to, they won't tell you what is about the basics of contract law, what is inducement, what is all that, or misrepresentation. You have to already know that. In bar school, what they teach you is what you already have and apply. So I'll go back to when I go to University of Leeds in my third year. I took EU law, I took cyber law, media law, equity and trust, and most importantly, dissertation. In University of Leeds, it's a must to take a dissertation of 12,000 words. This is where I set up the pace where in my master's, I only need to do about 3,000 plus words. So that will set you a pace of how to actually write a proper research. So if you decide to go to University of Leeds, need to make sure that your legal research is of the top notch. Okay, whenever you have library that they were LexisNexis course, go for it because it's very important. Even when you come out at work, legal research is like your day-to-day job. Every day you have it. Even you draft pleadings, which is your statement of claim or anything, the cost papers, everything requires you to back up with your research. You cannot just say, I think it's this. As much as I think that everyone's opinions matter, sometimes whatever you say don't matter unless it's back it up. So make sure you juggle your legal research very, very well. So, and then when I graduated in my University of Leeds and I go to bar school. So speaking of bar schools, there are actually a lot of modules as well. That criminal, civil, professional ethics, opinion writing, drafting, conference, advocacy, and redoc. Okay, what is redoc? Redoc is your ADR. I think you will take this in your second year. Second year in tailors. Back in those days, it's me second year. So as I say about criminal law, as I said, they won't teach you the basic again. So you need to know what's access rea mens rea. What they teach you in civil and criminal is just the civil procedure rule, the procedure rule where is the It's a really thick book. You see all these books? Those thick books that you have to remember those rules. For example, interlocutory application. What it means, like when you start a civil proceeding, okay, they will come with a starting of a statement of claim, and then it goes down to hearing. But in between, there will be interlocutory application. What it means is that, for example, a contract case, A breached a contract and B tried to sue him. So in between, there will be cases like, because B is bankrupt, so I have to file a security for cost. So what it means is that I'm afraid that he cannot pay my cost even if I win, says A. So that's why you file to the court and say, I need him to pay that amount, the cost, into the court or into my law firm, just so that he can actually, if I were to win, I can still claim that cost from him. So there are a lot of interlocutory application. It includes like injunction and so on and so forth. So it's not a straightforward A to B. No, you have B, C, D, E, F, G in between. So these are the procedure that you need to know, and how when you file your pleadings, you need to know what's the deadline, how many days, and because there are like 2 business days or 2 clear days or just 2 days. It's every term matters, because 2 business days can be Monday, Tuesday. If Tuesday is a public holiday, then you have to be on the Wednesday. But 2 days, it can just be Tuesday. Even if it's Saturday, Sunday, it will be counted. So these are the kind of things that you need to know in your civil and your criminal procedure. In terms of professional ethics, remember when you're young, they always ask you, what if you already know that guy is actually guilty? Can you still represent him? Won't you feel like you're guilty, or would the law allow? This is where your professional ethics try to cover. It's where, you know, for example, your client tell you, Winnie, I actually killed that person. So what you can do, you can still represent him, because you never know whether he is actually telling the truth. So you can still represent him, but you cannot deceive the court. You cannot tell the court that my client did not do it. But you can say that, okay, I'm going to challenge, instead of saying that my client did not do it, I'm going to challenge on evidence. For example, the prosecution has not proved beyond reasonable doubt against my client. So these are the kind of things that you need to remember, that as a lawyer, you cannot just simply take money from other people. You cannot use your client's money. This covers in the professional ethics. So I'll go down to opinion writing. Opinion writing are usually before the case starts. So where client will just come to you, somebody else breached the contract. Do you think I can sue? Do you think I can win? This is where your research will be on top notch to actually see, okay, based on these facts, and then you write a good piece to your client and say, I don't think he has a chance to win because of what. Like, for example, there is no misrepresentation of what you have claimed, things like that. So it's just your opinion, but there is a format of writing that opinion. So yeah, if you were in bar school, make sure you go to every class, because if you don't go classes, you will not be able to pass. I think they have a 80% attendance rule. So even if you don't have that rule, trust me, if you skip one class, it seems like you skip a lot. You're gonna have to catch up. And the next thing is conference. Conference is very much in real life. It's like you talking to clients. You're trying to get as much facts from them, because you have to remember, they don't know what to tell you. They don't know what to give you. You need to ask the right questions. They can be telling you a whole lot of story which is not relevant, and you don't want that, because you are a lawyer. You don't have much time to deal with that. You want the specifics to fit the elements. For example, as I said, like tort. Okay, tort. Then you need to know, does it owe a duty of the duty to you? Then you have to start asking, what's the relationship between you and the person that you're suing, to fit that element. And then there's a element of breach. Then you say, on this date, what happened? Talk to me about it. Go through with me step by step. Ask proper questions is where they teach you in conference, because you never know when they will tell you whole different thing and it actually doesn't make sense. It doesn't actually help your case. So you need to ask the proper questions. There could be a criminal charge and about fraud, but then he will tell you that, oh, me and him is a best friend, and we start business together, but then I see his wife. It doesn't even make sense. It doesn't relate to the case that you are you are trying to help you. So these are the things that the skills that he'll teach you. Ask the right question, make sure it's short and sweet. And then next is advocacy. This is the biggest topic in bar, because the difference between CLP and bar is that bar teaches you all the life skills. CLP, on the other hand, it's a lot of like, they will still have civil procedure rules, but the only difference is that you will have to memorize them and then write it on a paper. They won't give you real life scenario. For example, in bar school, they actually will hire actors to be a witness. You can cross-examine them. You can ask them questions. You can go through a conference, which is for example, your client is actually in the jail, in bail. So you have to ask her what's the right question. So in that circumstances, for example, like advocacy, which I say is a big skill because there is 3 semesters. The first semester, they will teach you on how to submit to the court. I don't know if any of you have been mooting before. So mooting is very much like what you're doing in submission. So you are like writing a submission based on your research on a case, and then you will submit it before the judge. So the judge will just sit there and just listen to you. And the more persuasive ones with the more strong argument will usually win. So in the first semester, they will teach you how to have bail application, and also even civil, where, for example, remember I told you about the interlocutory application. So in that case, you will have hearings. You will actually submit to the judge and say, okay, based on these facts, my client deserves to have a security for cause because of what. And then the second semester will be on examination in chief. So what does it mean is that examination in chief is that you try to elicit more, as much facts, as much arguments on your client's side. So your client will be telling the whole story. So you want to paint that picture for that. Back in UK, they have juries. So you want to paint that picture on for juries. For example, your client say that, oh, it was an accident, it wasn't attempted murder. So you try to paint and say, so you will ask questions like, Mr. A, can you tell me what happened on that day? And Mr. A will say, oh, it was very dark, and then it was raining, so it was very slippery. I didn't push him by accident. Then he will tell the whole story. So this is where you will try, because you have to understand whatever comes from the witness is the most important piece of evidence, because whatever comes from the lawyer, because they know that lawyers have the thoughts of persuading. So whereas in the eyes of the law, witness are lay person, they will just tell the truth because they are under oath. So you will try to get them answer a question. There's no leading question. What means by leading is that leading is the answer to yes or no. Non-leading is where the WH question. Who, what, where. For example, you ask, so who was there with you? What were you doing? So that he can explain the whole story instead of just saying yes and no. And the third semester will be on cross-examination. So cross-examination is where your leading question is directed to it's called cross for a reason, because it was opposite your opposition. So witnesses by your opposition. So you will try to ask, because first it will start with their examination chief. They'll tell their story. And then you, on the other hand, as the opposition, will actually ask questions to objectify what they say. So for example, he said that I didn't push him, it was an accident. Then you have to think, so you were there on what date? Yeah, it's a yes or no question. And then after that, but you wasn't supposed to be there, correct? He will say, yeah. Then why were you there at that time? These are the kind of things that you trap that witness into saying that, oh shit, I'm not supposed to be there, but I was there. Why? That will leave it to the jury or the judge to actually decide, because at the end of the day, you never know what's the true story. So yeah, advocacy is a very, very fun module, I would say, because I think CLP, they wouldn't have this module. So if you, in terms of practical base, this is why I think I choose bar for a reason. Despite me having to come back, I have to read the CLP textbooks because they are Malaysian, as I said, Malaysian law will be different from UK, although it's not a major difference, but there will be slight difference that you need to learn and pick it up. And then the next one is REDOC. REDOC is your ADR. So ADR involve mediation, arbitration, and negotiation. So these are just alternative disputes that you don't want to go to the court. You will tell your client, okay, let's just settle before going to the court, or maybe in between of the court. Because why? Maybe there are cases that involve trade secrets. For example, in IP law, there are certain things that you don't want the public to know. You have to remember, whenever it goes to the court, it will be reported. Reporters will be there. People like you and me can go to the court and just sit there and just listen. So if there are big businesses, they have trade secrets that they don't want the world to know. For example, the recipe of KFC. Then, then you say that, okay, let's just opt for an ADR. So that it's a private place where they actually have discussion among them. So they will settle between them, the plaintiff and the defendant, and they'll be like, okay, let's just settle this case, and we'll never talk about it. There were no reporters. So, but in the eyes of law, we always want to advise our client that you should have go for the alternate dispute resolution, because you don't want to waste court time. You don't want to go through a hassle of amicable litigation, because at the end of the day, you have to remember, business relations is very hard to build. So if you were to break them, it's not very good for your client as well. So yeah, that's why in your law school, even in bar school, they will teach you that, okay, always tell your client to settle outside the court. Yeah. And then that is all for the modules of bar school. And in second semester in bar school, the third semester, they will give you an option to take additional subjects. So I took family law and company law. I always like family law. Back in University of Leeds, I did dissertation on, it may sound a little bit funny, but the dissertation is on whether adultery is a commoner or is it punishable by law? Should it be punishable by law? And then in my LLM dissertation, I did also on family law, which is, does the no fault divorce bill provide closure or controversy? That's the reason why I opt to take family law. I went for martial with the judge and on the family law cases. So it's a bit sad, because you have to see how parents fight for their money, for their children. So you have to have more compassion about it. So even in, as I said, whatever law you have, whatever skills that the module that I told you about, whatever law it applies. So in, for example, like conference in family law, instead of going heart to heart straight, okay, did you do it? What happened? Tell me. It's more like, oh, I feel how you feel, because they are still human beings and they have compassion with their children, and their family is breaking apart. So the flip side of it, that the teacher will actually teach you how to ask questions in a more compassionate way. But in terms of the first term, not the family law, they will teach you how to be more professional. Try to separate yourself from your client, because that those clients that you are dealing with, for example, in criminal law cases, you don't want to be attached so heavily into them, because at the end of the day, you have a professional ethics, as I said, professional ethics, to keep your distance, to keep that to make sure that, oh, I am not here to abide you in whatever wrongs that you're doing. I am here to make sure that the law is upheld, that you are not wrongly convicted. Always remember this. So make sure you separate yourself from being emotionally charged. If you know that for me, is that I know I'm very emotionally charged. That's why I didn't choose to do criminal law, because I know that I cannot do it. I don't have that heart to do it. So the second option that I thought was company law. Reason is that because it's a very wide, in any field of business, there will be company. Just like in any field of business, there will be law. So for me, I thought company law is because everything start up from a company. So I feel like it's a quite wide base. It's a wide to cover all the areas. And I feel like if I were to come back to Malaysia, it'll be a good startup, because a lot of firms, they do merger and acquisition. They will do what I'm doing right now, winding up an insolvency law, and anything. A lot of them actually involve with companies. So that's the reason why I took company law. But there are other options. So be sure that just go with what you like, because they're like, I think there is a professional medical negligence, which I don't like, because I don't like to count. I'm not, okay, I love maths, but I don't like to count the quantum. Just like, for example, the difference between, if someone were to tell you that, oh, my client broke her back, but does the back link to the neck? These are the things that you need to know also. That's why whenever you take one side of the law, you have to know at least a basic of that that area that you're studying. For example, as I said, my medical negligence, you have to at least know where's your fovea, tavia, all these medical terms that you also need to know. So in terms of company law, there will be shareholder, there will be talking about for example, what is judicial management, what is liquidator. All these things are different terms. So as I say back in the first time when I talk about the legal jargon, every field has their jargon, has their different definition for words that we never heard of, because normal people don't use words like we don't use words like rule of law. We don't. In normal basis, we don't. But because we are in this field, this is required of us. So you have to slowly pick it up and have to learn it. So yeah, I think that's about it. So I talk about Master of Law. So it comes together with the bar course. It will be free. So not many people from my cohort actually took it, because they feel like it's an extra work. But for me, it's more about learning. The mindset of learning cannot be taken out from you. You're always constantly learning. Even right now, my boss, probably about 50 plus, he is still learning. He will just sit there and he will just read about Companies Act, because every law has different interpretations. For example, even the same one act, the way Miss Putri reads it doesn't mean that the way I read it. So there's always a room to learn. There's always a room to improve. So don't take that out from you. So even if you feel like you don't know anything, don't be worried. Okay, the only worry that you need to know is that find out what you don't know, because the most problematic one is that you don't know what you don't know. That's the most problematic one. But if you were to know what you don't know, go and look for the answers, because it's very, very important. For me, is if I don't know the answer, I'm gonna look for it. If I can't look for it, I can't sleep. So build that habit slowly, and I'm sure you guys will be fine. It's only your first year, so don't feel overwhelmed. Don't stress yourself out. As I say, talk to your lecturers. They are very helpful. So yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Winnie, for sharing your experiences as well as stories with regards to the modules and electives that you have taken. It's very insightful, even for me as well, because I didn't do the bar exam. So it's good that you share. Then I can also share with the students in the August semester as well. And I also like how you say you should be scared of what you don't know, which is correct, because when we talk about law, whatever that you have read is just like any other students. They learn on the same thing, but when it comes about what they don't know, if you know, which means you're one step ahead than those people who don't know. So thank you so much for encouraging ELS students, inspire them to be lifelong learners. We have a lot of students have been texting me questions. If you have any question, feel free to type in the chat group. But if you would like to personally ask your question directly to Winnie, you can unmute yourself as well. We have a question here. What is a day in life of a lawyer like? How do you balance your career life and work out in gym? Any suggestion on time management?
How do you know that I go to the gym? Okay. I would say that it's the mindset. If you want it bad enough, you have to go for it. I always tell people, you cannot say you got no time. Trust me, you have time. When I study in bar school, everybody it's a bit scary. I would say, out of like 30 students in my cohort, Malaysians, only 5 of us actually passed the first sitting. So it is actually very scary. As I said, the difference between the bar school and the LLB is that the bar school requires to be more of a working time. You have to make sure you put in the amount of work, because if you don't, you cannot finish. You can't. So how to balance your time is that set a schedule. Always tell yourself. I always give this example to a lot of my friends. It's like brushing your teeth. Nobody will tell you, I love brushing the teeth. Oh, I love it. Nobody will tell that. So you have to put it as your routine. You will do it every day, regardless. So if you really enjoy your passion, not just gym, if you like painting, reading, put it as a routine. Set a time. It's only one maximum 2 hours. It's not too much of your time to ask. Sometimes if you were to sit down and you actually think after you finish all your work, you actually sit down, a lot of people will be like, I'm watching Netflix. See, you actually have time. It's just that it depends on what you prioritize. So make sure you do your priority check and also your mindset, put it as a routine. So these are the things that I don't even my colleagues, my peers would not be able to answer the question. They will always say that, oh, I have no time. Actually, they do have time. It's just that whether how you prioritize them. So yeah, mindset.
Yep, correct. I agree. It's all about the mindset as well as how you make your hobbies as part of your routine. Because otherwise, when you work, you become mentally tired and then you're like, tomorrow lah. And after that, you ended up not doing it. Thank you so much for that. There's another question. It's pretty long, so bear with me. What's your advice on how we should approach our law modules? Since most of us have finished our schooling and college, we are focused on getting good grades, but this is not sufficient to keep us going throughout the law program. Based on your personal experience, what helped you change that mindset?
I was actually guilty on my part. I actually know the importance of good grades in second year. Even second year wasn't enough to say that I will chase for it. Why I did so well in bar, I would say not very well, but quite well, is that I feel like if you don't do well, there is so many competition. You know, in this firm alone, it's a medium-sized firm, but there are 12 pupils. How do you make sure that you are above of them? You know, you're more than just a pupil. How do you make sure of that? Because everyone is fighting for that spot, not just you. Everyone is. So I'm not saying that good grades gets you further. It's just that good grades will actually get you the door open. Trust me on that, because a lot of big firms will tell you, unless you got a 2-1, don't apply, because at the end of the day, your application will just probably just thrown out. It's not to say that study well, good grades get you further. Trust me, it's not that. It's just that it gets you a door open, easier way. So appreciate right now what you have. Try your best to get to understand. I think one of the most important mistakes that I made is that I don't understand the question. So when you do your exam, read your question properly, because by all means, you know the law, you know, for example, you're doing contract law. He was like, okay, in this case, was that a contract form? You will start throwing a lot of things in, but you have to just know that the answer just asks, does that a contract form? So you just have to list in the elements, for example, the intention to create legal relations, capacity, all these things that are important to answer that question. Don't throw in a lot of things. That's also, as I say, in your conference and your advocacy, make sure your client, you need to ask the correct question for your client to answer. So just the same thing, if the question is so straight to the point, make sure you break them apart. Try to understand what the question wants instead of what you want to tell. Because the lecturer is not interested in what you want to say. The lecturer is only interested in your answer to their question. So yes, that is one of the key points. And also, in terms of how you get yourself going, is that I would say do what you can while you can, because don't do last minute work. Okay, trust me, it doesn't work. Although you will say that, oh, I can still do last minute work, it's just memorizing. Memorizing is not the biggest thing to fear. Is that the understanding of what you memorize is what is important. Because if you don't understand what is it, even though you memorize it, you blurt it out, trust me, it doesn't match with the questions that they ask. The answer wouldn't match the question. So make sure when you understand the law, not just understand because this is what they say. Always challenge yourself with your mind. If they ask, always ask yourself, This is what the lecturer says. But question the lecturer, why do you say that? Because in real life, the judge will actually ask you, why do you use this case? What is so special about this case? Tell me about the facts of the case. You need to memorize the facts of the case, but you also need to know, as I said, understand. Do you understand whether it's applicable to your case? So understand the question, understand what you're learning. So yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Winnie. Just a disclaimer that I did not coach Winnie to answer that question. So the tutorial session, I always ask students to type their introduction or their second paragraph. So if they copy paste the answer, I'll immediately remove it because it's not related to the question. Just like how Winnie mentioned, you need to address the question. It's not about what you know. You may know so many things, but if it's not directly related to that question, so the answer will become meaningless. Thank you so much, Winnie. Okay, so there's a question. If I want to work in Malaysia, would you recommend to do BPTC or CLP?
This is a tough one. I cannot actually directly tell you to whether take BPTC or CLP because I never take CLP. I wouldn't know what CLP is like. But I would say if you want to learn life skills, because even if you were to take CLP, even if you don't have the advocacy ability, trust me, even as a lawyer, you have this something called CPD, which is the continuing professional development. So you have to go for all that. So there will be courses of teaching you. There is a crash course on advocacy. There is a weekend on advocacy to just teach you how to do your cross-examination or examination chief. So that is actually not a problem. I think the first thing to remember is that whether you actually have the financial. If you have the financial ability to do it, then go with the bar because they will teach you lifelong skills that is stuck in your head. Although you have to put in more effort when you come back because what your peers, all those peers, as I say here got 12 pupils, so your peers will probably know well more than you in terms of Malaysian law. So unless you are willing to after your bar you come back before you actually start your pupillage, take the rules of court. It's just like a civil procedure rule. It's the rules of court. Take it and read it and memorize them and understand them. So if you have the ability and you feel like I can pay, are willing to go an extra mile, why not? Go, because at the end of the day, in UK, the life is very different. Trust me. I'm from Ipoh, so when I start studying in Taylor's, I moved myself all the way to Subang. And it's already different because no one's going to wash my dishes. Nobody's going to wash my clothes. So it's a new thing that I feel like, okay, I need to do this. I need to make sure I get my rent paid, even though my mom paid me. I have to remember that I have to pay to the landlord. So things like that is more like of your own responsibility. But when you move to UK, trust me, it's different. Although you are doing the same, which is paying your rent and all that, but because your parents are not very near, you have to count on yourself. At best, you can count on your friends, your Malaysian friends. But the experience is different. So even if you're not thinking about at least take 1 year to study there. But even if you cannot afford, for example, try to do a student exchange or maybe travel there to actually learn how the locals actually live, because it's very different from you traveling there just to have fun. Because even when I'm back in LLB and bar school, I still work as a part-time in a restaurant because the things there is very cheap, but at the same time, you need money to buy stuff. So that is one of those things that I feel like I'm quite proud of because I work as a waitress for hours, but at the same time, like, oh gosh, Winnie, you just use the money on buying and shopping. But yeah, if you really cannot afford it, trust me, if you have your discipline, if you were to work part-time and all that, you actually can cover your rent with that money. So you just have, if you are really, really determined, you can tell your mom, I really want to do bar school. I know you cannot afford that much. Maybe you can pay for my fees. I'll try to cover my rent as much as I can. I work as a part-time. Of course, that is a promise that you keep when you say it, because you have to juggle your time, as I said, balancing, juggle your time, and also make sure that it doesn't jeopardize your studies. So, yeah.
Okay, Winnie, actually I didn't know that you work part-time in Good. But coming back to that particular question, just now you mentioned that there are 12 pupils in Dennis and Wong. Just wondering
Yeah.
if you know the background of the pupils, if all of them did BPTC or it's a balance between BPTC as well as CLP. Would you know?
I think it's a quite a balance. It's quite a balance. So yeah, but as I said, bar school has 3 attempts. So your first attempt, second, and your third. If you fail your third attempt, you will have to retake the whole course. Granted that the bar school will take you in again. But if you cannot, I'm not saying this to give you an option. I'm telling you, you need to pass. But if you really come down to the point where you cannot pass, you can still come back to do your CLP. So CLP will be 4 times as well. I think 4 times. So if you fail the 4th time, you will never be a lawyer, unfortunately. But at least it will give you more chance. But if you were to start off from bar school, start off from CLP, then the question when you go back to bar school, then they will ask you, where were you this year? So these are the things that factors that's going to take in before you choose what path you want to take.
Okay, thank you so much. We have quite a number of questions, Winnie, so I have time. This is a question with regards to A level. Would you know if it's compulsory to enroll A level to transfer to Leeds, or they accept a foundation or diploma studies to transfer to Leeds?
I don't know because I took A levels. So make sure to watch out for tailors. They will have multiple times. Actually, the people from UK will fly over and give talks on their university. So watch out for that. That when they come over, then you can ask questions. Because every university has different admission rules. So make sure you watch out for that. So I cannot answer you for that question. I'm so sorry.
So much for highlighting on that. Winnie is correct. Miss Marini usually will organize a session where she will get all representatives from 7 UK university partners to come down to Taylor's and provide a session with regards to how to transfer to each of their universities. So this kind of question you can compile and then ask during that session. So there's a question with regards to studying law. How do you describe mental health during and after you have completed your studies?
I think my mental health is fine. Whereas working, then is different because you have to not deal with just the law, you have to deal with people. In terms of studying, if you're stressed out, as I say, talk to somebody. Because once you have to always remember, whatever you learn is only difficult at that spur of moment. Just like right now, if I were to ask you, is SPM difficult? I can get an assurance answer. Most of them will be like, if you ask me to do it again, I can score better. See, it's not as difficult as you think it is. As I said, break down all those questions. Make sure whenever you go for classes, write down what you don't understand, what you don't know. Ask the lecturers after that. So for me, I cannot say much of my mental health because if I'm stressed out, I go to the gym. I release it in that way. So if you have stress, maybe find someone to talk to, do something to release your stress, find something that can help you with that. Address the problem. Of course, most importantly, address the problem. Don't just keep it to yourself. Don't, because it will kill you inside out. So make sure you talk to somebody, address it. Yeah, if you need it, find a therapist if really you need it. But yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Winnie. With regards to that question, Taylor's University do provide counseling session to students who require support when it comes to their studies. Winnie is correct. Whenever you feel stressed, you should find a channel where you can release your stress, either by playing sports or just hang out with friends, or you want to play PUBG or anything, as long as you don't feel too stressed out. Because I remember when I did my CLP, I was so stressed out that I developed eczema all over my body. People thought I got skin disease. I cannot even go up to the house. If I go to the beach, people will just go away from me. So I feel like I need friends. So yeah, you go and find people who can support you. So there's a question. Okay, after 3 years of law school and one is sure they want to go into corporate sector or academia, would you still recommend doing bar or CLP? I suppose based on your answer earlier, bar will teach you a lot of practical skills with regards to molding your skills in advocacy, asking the right question, whereas CLP is more theoretical based, how you memorize and write it down. There's also question based on your dissertation. Out of curiosity, do you think adultery should be punishable by law?
Wait, I'm gonna address the first question. I think the first question is to ask whether you should go for doing a lawyer or being like a lecturer. I think that's the question. So actually, right, having a law degree is a very good degree because you can actually work in any field. If you don't want to be a lawyer, you can be a lecturer. Okay, but if you just like or you don't want to work as a law firm, you can actually work in-house. In-house is where you have legal department. For example, a big bank, CIMB bank. Okay, those banks, they actually have a legal department, so you can be in that legal department. Then the question is whether you need to do bar or CLP for that. Answer to that question is that you don't need. It's not a requirement that if you want to be lecturer, you don't have to take CLP or you don't have to take bar school. But it is because everyone has it, so it shows that they have a set of skills that you don't. So that's the reason why a lot of those house they want to have, even like in-house, which is what I mean, like working in a legal department like big companies or multinational companies or banks, is that they require you to have experience like PQE for how many years. So with you having a bar, you will have to practice. You can practice as a lawyer. So normally they want to hire as a normal practitioner lawyer than to just hire fresh grad. So it's up to you. But also, as I say, at the end of the day, if you were to take bar or CLP, it will give you a leverage that, I get more options instead of just working just for as a lecturer or just for in-house. I can have the option to actually work as a lawyer as well. So if you decided I don't like to be a lawyer, then you can still switch. So don't matter. So always give yourself more options. So if you want to study, go ahead. But if you don't, it's still fine. But make sure that it's gonna be a uphill battle compared to others that already have it. And for the second question, what's the second question again?
Do you think adultery should be punished?
I personally feel like it should be, but unfortunately, my research states that it is not feasible because you just have to understand that in everything that you do, there is cost involved. Even if you were to have, you want to try to commit someone adultery, someone committed adultery, you want them to be convicted. You have to think on the backside that if they were to be convicted, means they have to go to the jail. Jail does not have so much space for just all these private matters. So that is why my legal research came out and says that it is not feasible, because although it is a nice concept, brilliant idea to convict adulterers, but it's not feasible. It's not workable in reality. So yeah.
Okay.
I'll add on to that on dissertation. Don't be afraid of going to University of Leeds because you don't want to do dissertation. Trust me, having a dissertation it will look, first of all, it will look great on your CV. Second of all, it will teach you so many things. It will be you would think differently than just normal module because you have to go just in-depth research. And if you want to do a master and doctorate, that would be a useful skills to have to give you a leverage on slowly stepping up to studying a PhD. So yes.
All right. Yes, don't be afraid of dissertation. Winnie is at the end of the day, it's all about you gaining that research skill. You're the one who gain the writing skills. Okay, there's a question. Do you think you own any privilege of being a BPTC graduate compared to CLP graduates? For example, if BPTC graduate has higher salary status or more preferable by clients?
I actually heard rumors, I'm not too sure. I heard rumors that big firms are looking for mostly bar students because they have the skills that they want. But I would disagree to what it says because my boss is a CLP student. Okay, he did brilliantly. Everybody knows him in the field of insolvency law, especially in the litigation side. So you don't have to. At the end of the day, skills, you remember, whatever skills that you learn, you can actually learn it on your own. You can learn it based on experience. For example, like for me, my first CM, case management, so I have to go before the TP, Timbalan Pendaftar, is in Johor. And I don't know what to do. My legal associate just said, just go, you'll be fine. And I took a flight all the way to Johor, and I don't know what to say in front of the TP, and I'm shivering. And then my opponent helped me out with that. So she will say, oh, this is a lawyer from PKP, which is Pelatih Dalam Kamar. She will be representing the firm and all that. So from there, you learn from what she said. In law, there is no such thing as the skills, not the work. Skills, there's no such thing as plagiarism. So, but in terms of writing, make sure you don't plagiarize. But in terms of skills, like how people present, always look at somebody else. That's why if you have the time, go to court hearing, sit there and actually see how they present. Sometimes some of the lawyers, they are not that good. Then you start to question. Instead of saying that he's not that good, just say he's not that good, but why do you think he's not that good? Improve from that. So if there are really big, because our firm works a lot with Compulsory. So whenever I go to the hearing, I look at him, he has that flair, he has the way he speaks, the way he presents to the judge. Why is it so persuasive? Because not only that his argument makes sense, but the way he put things. Remember, it's just how you present is how people perceive you. You can say that, for example, there was this case recently that this lady was being held as a ransom by this guy. This guy is only 19 years old and he robbed a bank, but he got shot and killed. But he was holding a lady as hostage. So, but I write a sentence and say, indeed he was wrong, but and holding the female as ransom, but he was only 19. People would think that I am trying to say that he should be empathized. But you see how you play with words. You can of course put that in front first. You can say that he was only 19, but doing this is still wrong. Then people will say that, oh, she's trying to empathize the case and also the female. At the end of the day, as I say, being a lawyer is how you persuade, how you put yourself out there, how you present your case. Is a skill that you not only learn from bar school. Bar school is, of course, one of those good opportunities for you to learn. But in real life, when people speak, learn from them. When lecturers speak, ask them, why do you put it this way? Everybody have a different thought. Even if you were to, for me, I like to read some crime thriller books. So read all those. They will have different type of writing style. There will be a different type of presentation style. If you like that, adopt that. You can always copy that. That is not plagiarism, but you can. So yeah, do that.
Yep, correct. I agree with Winnie. When it comes to skills, you can observe other people and then you emulate that good behavior or good skills. So that's how you sharpen your skill, because you can always read a book about how to give proper presentation, but if you don't actually utilize it or use it, then you won't be able to improve yourself. So we have a question. Hi, I was wondering if it's possible to work part-time while doing your third year and the bar. I suppose it's possible, but how do you manage your time working as well as studying?
I give up my social life. Okay, there's always 4 things that you have, but you have to only choose maximum 3 in law school. I always tell people, first, your academics, second, sleep, third, social life, and 4th is, what was that? Oh God, I forgot. But at least this is the 3, okay? Fine. That is social life, academics, and your sleep. Okay, so these are the things that you have, that one of those things has to sacrifice. I'm not saying that you don't social with your friends, not at all. But you have to cherry pick it. As I said, priorities matters. So even in bar school, you must fulfill qualifying sessions in the Inns of Court. So the qualifying sessions not only will, I happen to be in Inner Temple, so all qualifying sessions is not just dine in. So we have dine in and some learning sessions. So always remember in the law field, networking is very important. I'm not saying that you don't socialize, but pick how do I put it? Cherry picked it, okay? It's okay to hang out with your friends. Think about it. Once a week is fine. Once every fortnight is fine because it's just friends. Just like other networking, you can go if there is event, but don't go every day because at the end of the day, you have to understand that there is gain and loss. You have to pick one over the other. So if that doesn't benefit you in the sense, you have to pick the other. This is reality. So don't live in fantasy that you have to pick one to give up the other.
In your opinion and experience, can introverts be a good lawyer? Other than legal profession, can you give other suggestions for law graduates?
Introvert can be a good lawyer because there are a lot of laws, not just litigation. In the law, in the Malaysian law, or maybe in general, there's not only litigation lawyer. Litigation lawyers is those that go to the court and fight for your case. But there are also lawyers like doing conveyancing, which is those that involve property transaction, transfer of land. There is M&A, as I said, merger and acquisition. So what you do is that you go and scout for example, these big businesses want to buy over the other businesses, and you are the one that's going to do the work. So what you do is to check whether this business actually profitable or not, worth the buying or not. You need to do your due diligence. There are so many areas of law. So if you think you are afraid of speaking, it is one of the ways that you can actually opt for like work stuff. Just like there is no such only better solicitor. If you really think you cannot do work, you can always opt for a solicitor. But of course, there's a different cost. But in terms of Malaysia, fuse profession, so in-house, you put in-house, as I say, representing your own company in your legal department. You can even do even IT. Did my line break?
You froze a bit. You're not moving. Okay, now you're moving a bit. Okay. With regards to that question, even though you're an introvert, you still can become a good lawyer. So it's no issue at all. There's a question: have you always had a great command of VM, or did you pick up along the way? Would you recommend for someone's VM skills is only sufficient to order at Mama?
BM was not my strongest suit as well. Trust me, I'm not as good, but just so happened I went for NS, National Service. So I have to speak in BM. So that's where I learned a bit more than what I usually have. But if you were to be, I would say if you were to do non-litigation work, you may need to know some basics because you will have Malay clients. You will have a Malay company that most of their documents is in Malay. But in general, if it's like multinational companies, then you don't have to deal with that. But if you are doing litigation work per se, if you have there is superior court and there is lower court, the subordinate. So when you submit in the subordinate courts, they usually use Malay. So unless you're gonna ask permission from the court and say, Yang Arif, izinkan saya submit dalam bahasa English. If the court allows you, you can go on with English. But if the court doesn't allow you, you still have to learn your basic BM, okay? And also in your pleadings, whatever you drafted, normally my firm, they all draft in English, and then the translation text, the dictionary will be your best friend to translate that to BM. But in terms of submitting a lot of cases, because my firm deals with high court and also winding up, so we don't normally deal with BM because winding up stuff we don't have to translate, so it's fine for us. But if you know that you take in other cases, especially criminal, you need to know your basics of BM. So yeah, unfortunately for you.
I wouldn't say unfortunate. It's a good skill.
Yeah, good skill to learn, but yeah, I mean, you have to.
Okay, there's a question. Is it easy to find a job in UK? Do you have any tips? Have you been subject to racism?
before I come back to Malaysia, I wanted to apply for pupillage in UK, but it's a bit difficult. Okay. Why I would say it's difficult is because in bar in UK, barrister is self-employed. So you cannot get a visa with that. So that's a different story, because unless a company willing to sponsor your visa, you as a barrister would not be able to get sponsorship to stay there as a working visa. Unless you're taking LPC, which is a solicitor course, then you can apply for training from the firm, because those big firms, they'll give you a 2-year training contract. That's where they're normally big firm that will have they will have license to sponsor your visa. So this not because I want to work, I can work. Remember, it's cross-border visa matters. So you have to, before you accept any job offer, even if you were to get a job offer, ask them, can you sponsor my visa? If cannot, what's the point of wasting your time to apply? So make sure the first step is to go and see the list of sponsorship lists, whether they are within that license sponsor to give you that sponsor visa. So if they don't waste time applying to them. But in general, I don't think there is racism issue. At least for me, I mix with locals, so I don't have that problem. I always feel like a lot of people say, oh, black people this, black people that. But I'm telling you, I have lots of black friends and I love them because they're very, very nice. So I don't have that problem with me.
Okay. Oh, that's good to hear. There's a question which asks, can't witnesses lie under oath? And what do you do when an opposition witness lies under oath?
Okay, within the professional ethics, we are not allowed to coach your witness. So if you were to court, that is actually a very big deal. You probably will get suspended of your license. So do not coach your witness. But if the other witness lie, okay, unless you find out, then your only job is to make sure you do your job right as a cross-examiner to actually cross-examine them to make sure their evidence are shaken and they are not being trustable. Once you actually can challenge that, you can show the court that he's not a trustworthy person. Do not take his evidence. Good, kudos for you. But if you really cannot, unless you find out, there's nothing much you can do. So yes, and if you really find out and that he really indeed lied, then you have to present to the court and say that I will dismiss this witness for his evidence because he is being untruthful. But in general, highly unlikely. The only thing that you can do is prep well with your cross-examination skills.
Correct. That's true. I agree with that. Okay, so there's also a question. Do you recommend joining uni that provide dining, or do you cook yourself?
You mean joining uni that dining? What do you mean by that?
Joining a hostel that provides.
Oh, you cannot ask me this question because I'm a part-time bodybuilder, so I cook my meal all the time because I track my macros, I track my calories. So yeah, but then again, of course, if you can cook on your own, because at the end of the day, you know what is it that you put inside your food. Okay, but of course, if you want to save time, if you are lazy, then by all means you can ask someone to. I don't have an opinion about that because I'm very different from the majority or the norm. I cook my own food all the time, so yeah.
Okay, good for you. Cooking also is a skill. I usually advise students, why don't you opt cooking, because then it also helps for you to develop your own personal skills as well. And if you opt for hostel that provides a meal, it will be much more expensive as compared to hostel that do not provide any meal. So you save cost in that sense. Have you been subjected to threats by disgruntled clients?
Have I distracted to what?
Subjected to threats by unhappy clients. Threats as
not that I actually know of. Sometimes clients can be a little bit more unreasonable. So, but then you trust me, clients is always right because they are the one who pay you. But keep them back in the line. So if they were to be mean to you, unless it's unwarranted. For example, if they were to judge saying that your work is not good and all that, that is reasonable, then you will have to explain yourself. But if it's unreasonable and you cannot handle it and you feel like, oh, he's just personally attacking me, then the best thing to do is to actually talk to your supervisor, talk to your boss, because at the end of the day, he is your boss client, not yours. You're just doing the boss job. So talk to your boss. Maybe the boss will either dismiss him as a client or pass it to someone else that probably can well handle him. So yeah, talk to your boss. But I don't have that problem just yet. I have unreasonable clients. I have clients that a bit troublesome, but they are manageable. So, yes.
Okay, Winnie, because you're a nice person. Nobody wants to threaten you. That's the reason. But Winnie is correct. When you enter the working world, if you feel uncomfortable by certain clients, it's good if you can opt for courses like the art of persuasion, so that in this type of situation, you know how to deal with yourself. Because sometimes, just like how Winnie mentioned, that client is your boss's client, and your boss also don't know how to handle that particular client, because what matters is that client pays the bill. But if client becomes difficult, some bosses say, why don't you just bear with it, just like until this case settles. So it is something that it varies from case to case, and you need to have that skill to manage this type of client. So there's a question with regard to studying. Do you think handwritten notes during lecture is better, or typed notes would be more preferred?
I would say depends on your writing. Basically, if you have a good writing that is readable, go for writing, because when you write, you remember. But if your writing is like me, when I'm stressed out, I write and I don't even know what I'm writing, then you start typing, because at the end of the day, you have to refer it back. Then that's a problem, because when I'm stressed out, I will start scribbling instead of writing, and I will ask my friend, what does this mean? And then he was like, this is your writing, you should have known, but I don't know. So yeah, I will type. So it really depends on you. But if you can write it, because at the end of the day, only you will know what you're writing, and also that you can remember better.
That's actually a good question, because that question is directed to you, right? But if the question were directed to me, I'll usually advise students to type. The reason being because I learned my lesson. When you go to court, you need to transcribe whatever happened during the courtroom, right? So you really have to type really fast. So if you're not used to typing, then it becomes a problem, because I had to pretend that I was typing in front of my boss. And then after that, my boss said, Sophia, did you manage to type down everything? I'm like, yeah. And then after the session, I remember I had to go and then see the court clerk. And I said, Kak, this is the thumb drive. Can you transfer the recording in here to transcribe when I go back home? So typing would be better, because you improve your typing skills at university. Once you do your PhD, you have that typing skills already. It is actually a skill. Okay.
Yeah.
Do clients prefer elder or more experienced law? Wouldn't young law graduates feel bad about
I would say it really depends on clients. Some clients like a younger client because they can connect better, they can speak better, they can communicate well. But some other clients that usually if they involve a very big sum and they're like, oh, okay, I don't want someone new, I want someone that's more experienced because it's kill my money. So this is not for us to choose or for them to choose. At the end of the day, you can't choose to be older. You can't choose to be more experienced. You can only absorb and grow according to year and time. So it really depends down to the client. But if you have clients and you try to persuade that, maybe you can say that, oh, I'm young, but trust me, I am very experienced and knowledge I have expertise in this. Talk to them. But if they have at the end of the day decide someone that is more older, then by all means you got no choice, but you have to just bear with it.
Yeah, correct. But not to worry about that, because there are so many clients. Again, it depends on your skills. If you're really good, the clients will still want to engage your services. So it's nothing for you to worry about. Okay, I apologize that we have ran over about like 17 minutes. I promise you only up until 11 o'clock. Thank you so much, Winnie, for sharing your experiences, as well as answering all sorts of questions with regards to your dissertation, cooking, gym, family, social life, and other types of skills as well. So I wish you all the best with your pupillage, and hope you'll be admitted to completed the long call soon, right? A few more months.
Yes, few more months, yes. Is it possible to get everyone on the screen so that I can do a screenshot or something?
Okay, 1, 2, smile. Okay, and another one. Give me 1 second, and 1, 2, smile. Okay, excellent work, guys. Thank you so much for being so sporting to turn on your camera. And thank you again, Winnie.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys, and have a great time. Trust me, you won't have this opportunity back again. I wish that I'm in university. When I was in university, all the lawyers come and tell me that, oh, enjoy your time in university, and I never trust them. But trust me, it is the most fun time that you can possibly have in your whole lifetime. So enjoy while you can. Don't over stress out. Talk to someone if you need to. Talk to your peers that will be able to help you. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time, and I gotta go back to work. And my boss, one of my partners, Mr. Vincent, say hi to you, Mr. Chris.
Oh, hi. Say hi back to him.
All right. Bye, guys.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.